Imagine walking down a dimly lit street and meeting a man who claims to be possessed by an entity not of this world. A chilling thought, isn't it? This is the tale of an average man who lived a life just like yours or mine until he didn't anymore. His name, his identity, are of little importance. What matters is the eerie transformation he underwent. He began to experience peculiar symptoms, mood swings that came out of nowhere, dreams so vivid and disturbing they'd make your skin crawl, and a constant nagging feeling of being watched by something unseen. His life turned into a waking nightmare. His days filled with confusion and his nights with fear. But the most chilling part? The man's eerie declaration, a confession that still sends shivers down my spine. He whispered, "It's inside me, it's controlling me." His eyes, wide and terrified, bore into mine. As days turned into weeks, the man's condition worsened. He was not the same person anymore. The once cheerful, amiable man was now a shell of his former self, his eyes hollow and devoid of joy. His behavior had become erratic, his actions unpredictable. He would wander aimlessly at night, his eyes wide open yet unseeing. He was sleepwalking, but this was not the gentle somnambulism of the ordinary sleeper. His movements were frantic, his mumbles turning into full-blown speeches in languages he had never learned. His days were not much better. Violent outbursts marked his waking hours. Simple conversations would devolve into fits of rage, his words turning into a torrent of incomprehensible syllables. His behavior was so disruptive that he could no longer maintain his employment. The job that he loved, that he had dedicated years to, was no longer a part of his life. His world was shrinking, and he was at the center of it, a storm of chaos and disorder. His personal relationships suffered as well. Friends who once sought his company now avoided him. His family too began to distance themselves, unable to bear the sight of their loved one deteriorating before their eyes. He was isolating himself, pushing away everyone who tried to help him. But the most terrifying incident was yet to come. One night he was found levitating in his sleep. His body was suspended in the air, his arms flailing, his voice echoing with a language no one could understand. It was a sight that chilled the bones of those who witnessed it, a sight that defied all logic and understanding. This was not just a man losing his mind. This was something far more sinister, far more frightening. This was a man seemingly possessed, his body and mind under the control of some unseen force. The sight of him suspended in the air, his voice echoing with a language no one could understand, was a sight that would haunt those who witnessed it forever. In desperation, a call for help was made, and an investigation was launched. This was no ordinary quest for truth. It was a deep dive into the abyss of the unknown, a search for answers in the shadows of human understanding. A team of experts was assembled. Psychiatrists, paranormal investigators, and religious figures, all renowned in their respective fields, were brought in to examine the man. Each expert approached the case with their own set of tools, their own perspectives, and their own doubts. The psychiatrist probed the man's mind, attempting to unravel the tangled web of his psyche. The paranormal investigators scoured the environment, seeking any signs of otherworldly influence, while the religious figures confronted the situation with an air of solemnity, invoking centuries-old rituals in their quest for understanding. The investigation was a tumultuous journey, marked by debates and conflicting opinions. The psychiatrists pointed to a myriad of mental disorders, suggesting explanations rooted in science and medicine. The paranormal investigators, however, were not so quick to dismiss the man's claims, pointing to strange readings on their equipment and unexplainable phenomena that seemed to defy logic. The religious figures, steeped in tradition and faith, believed they were witnessing a battle of spiritual proportions. Tests were conducted, theories were proposed, and yet the man's condition remained a mystery. Unexplainable phenomena continued to occur, further deepening the enigma. Objects moved without explanation, chilling screams echoed in the dead of night, and the man's behavior grew increasingly erratic, a stark contrast to his previously calm demeanor. The skeptics among the experts began to question their own beliefs. The evidence was mounting, and it was becoming harder to dismiss the man's claims as mere delusions. The chilling reality began to sink in. They were dealing with something that transcended their understanding, something that challenged the very fabric of their reality. Despite the skeptics, there was no denying the chilling evidence. Something was profoundly wrong. In the end, the truth was as elusive as it was terrifying. As here peel back the layers of this chilling narrative, we find ourselves at a disturbing crossroads. Despite the tireless efforts of experts and investigators, a tangible explanation remains just out of reach. The man, once vibrant and full of life, continues to be plagued by his tormentor, his symptoms an unending reminder of his ordeal. The eerie behaviors, the unexplainable occurrences, they persist, leaving us grappling with the chilling possibility that he may indeed be possessed. Each expert, each investigator, each person that has crossed his path, they all carry with them the haunting echoes of his story. The very thought of an entity, unseen yet powerful, laying claim to a human soul, sends shivers down the spine. To this day, the man lives in the shadows of his own life, a prisoner to the entity that claimed him. In the silence of the night, he whispers, "It's still here, watching, waiting."